Hello everyone, this is blog number 3 for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. My name is Jaden Bollinger. And if you remember last video, we talked about the Congo Wars and the impact that has had on the present state of the Congo today. In this blog, I want to take a closer look at the rebel groups that are still active in the east of the country that have their origins back in that war and have a huge impact on Congolese policy today. They are the biggest reason why they're a leading cause of instability in the Congo, and also why the Congo can't fully utilize the resources that it has to become a more wealthy country than it is today. So, starting in the 90s, we have the Rwandan genocide. As you know, as I mentioned in the previous video, lots of the Hutus fled Rwanda after their genocide essentially was successful, but then they were pushed out by the Tutsis who fought back. They fled to the east of the Congo Wars ensued. Many of those Hutu groups that had committed the genocide formed the FDLR, the Force Démocratique de Libération du Rwanda. They wanted to make the Rwandan government Hutu again, essentially. And they were operating in the Democratic Republic of the Congo eastern regions, even after the war. And so, in response to this, there was a group called the CNDP that rose up, which was a Tutsi group. And this was simply made for Tutsi defense and fighting against the other group. And outside of even those two groups, there were the Mai Mai militias. These Mai Mai militias are local militias, town to town. They didn't have the same centralized hierarchy like the CNDP or the FDLR had, but they still were very powerful and have the most amount of people and most amount of groups because of how many small towns and villages and even some cities there are in the eastern Congo. And so these three main groups were in constant conflict. In 2008, the Democratic Republic of the Congo and its government worked with the Rwandan government in order to fight back the remaining FDLR forces in the east of the Congo. Now, they're still around today, but they're very weakened after this military kind of achievement. And because of this, the Rwandan government urged the CNDP, so the Tutsi group, to essentially hand over their guns to the Congolese government and join their military. So former CNDP fighters who were not for the integration broke away and formed the M23 group, which stands for the March 23rd group, which is named after the failed peace agreement. Now, if you've heard of the M23, you'll know that it is the most powerful group in the east of the Congo today, for some reasons we'll get into in a second here. So in 2012, so about 3 years after the peace agreement with Rwanda, the M23 group decided to launch an armed rebellion. They got control of large swaths of North Kivu, including Goma, which is the state capital. This was a huge blow to the Democratic Republic of the Congo at the time, and it led to a huge refugee crisis. After some UN intervention and defeats by Congolese forces in 2013, M23 formally surrendered, and some of the fighters fled to Uganda and Rwanda. While M23 sat in the shadows in Rwanda and Uganda, a different force called the ADF popped up in the east of the country. This was an Islamist militant group that came from Uganda. They started intensifying attacks in North Kivu in 2014. They targeted civilians and were allegedly receiving funding from outside international terrorist networks. In 2019, it was reported they were working with ISIS, and even ISIS claimed some responsibility for some ADF attacks, although the extent to which they're really connected is still kind of up in the air. 2015 to 2019, we saw a lot of Mai Mai militias launch attacks against FDLR, so the remaining Hutu forces that we talked about earlier, and M23 remnants. And the Congolese army also. And that's a bit tricky because, like I said, the Mai Mai militias are based town to town. Some of them sided with the Congolese army, but some of them are completely separate from it. It's really just depends on who they see as the bigger enemy to their province or town. And in 2020, M23 officially announced its kind of renewed insurgency that it would be coming back into the Congo, but that really didn't start until 2021. It quickly clashed with the Congolese military and displaced thousands of civilians. In 2022, M23 captured a lot of key towns in North Kivu, and it sparked a lot of regional tensions. And also the fact that Rwanda was supporting the M23. Now, Rwanda still denies this, but there's a lot of reasons that they'd want to do this. It's a Tutsi ethnic group, so they will always have they will always support Rwanda, who has a majority Tutsi government. And what Rwanda gets from this is, the east of the country in the Congo is extremely wealthy with mineral resources. It's suspected that what the Rwandan government seeks to do is to use the M23 group through funding to kind of clear out these areas in mass displacement, to kind of set up mines, to set up networks so that they can extract the mineral wealth from this section of the country. And we've seen this, and it's been repeatedly proved by the UN that the Rwandans have been working with the M23 on several occasions, although they still deny it. Because frankly, the mineral wealth in the east of the Congo is too tempting for the Rwandan government to ignore, even after the 2009 peace agreement. And so there's a lot of talk about Rwanda also having foreign backers for this kind of incursion. And the list kind of goes on with that because, frankly, cobalt is one of the leading minerals in this new age we're coming into, and it's extremely profitable. But in 2023, diplomatic talks, ceasefires, and regional military interventions continued, but there was still sporadic fighting. M23 is still active. FDLR and my groups are still conducting raids in the region, but M23 is by far the most powerful at this point. So, because of all of these almost foreign actors in the east of the Congo, it's really become a huge mess. There's not enough food, there are not enough shelters, not enough hospitals. Huge refugee camps have popped up all over the east of the Congo. There's just simply not enough of anything for people to survive or do well. I think to end this off, I'd just like to talk about, the future of the Congo. And honestly, while it doesn't seem like a bright one with all of this conflict in the east of the country and how that further destabilizes everything else in the Congo, I do think that I foresee a bright future in coming decades. And that's simply because the mineral wealth of the Congo is undeniable. Once they are able to fully utilize everything that they have in their country, without these outside and even internal influences, then they can really shine and come out of their shell. It will take a lot to get there. Namely, Rwanda and Rwandan backers will have to leave the country, and they will have to, and that can only really be done through diplomacy between the governments, and try and find deals that are, workable for the both of them. Because without Rwanda, I don't believe the M23 could exist in the way that it does. Now, the Mai Mai militias and everything else involved like that, those will also have to be resolved through individual diplomatic measures, reaching out to these towns one by one. There is no catch-all that will appease the Mai Mai militias, and also turning them into political parties won't do them any good because they're small groups at that. So slow and methodical diplomatic work is the only way the east of the Congo can heal. We've already seen some of this under Felix Tshisekedi. Being the first democratically elected leader of the country has a lot, it has a huge burden to bear. And one of the reasons he ran in 2019 and 2013 was to end this conflict. And frankly, he hasn't been able to do it because it's been so difficult, because it involves so many countries, and because it's a very complicated issue. It's just not something that's very easy to approach. But once that is achieved, all the Congo has to do is to move forward with anti-corruption legislation, trying to stamp down on illiteracy rates, trying to improve healthcare, and really use the mineral wealth of their country and spread it across the entire nation so that everyone can benefit from the Congo's innate wealth, to build their own wealth on top of it. And I think at that point, the Congo could become one of the most developed countries on Earth. But it's really a matter of if other countries will let it get to that point.